no reference point to a time like this. So in every crisis, it's a crisis, but there's also an opportunity. So I think we're just trying to analyze where we're at right now. We're trying to complete the films that, in the best way, trying to take this online world forward to try and, finish whatever work we can. And I think we're just waiting for the lockdown to get over to, understand where we're at. I think right now is the phase where we are trying to just understand what's going to happen, because a lot depends on the government regulations. Yesterday, Kamal, Shibasish and we were on a call with, the entire guild and the multiplexes, and, we're all trying to stick together and try and find out first to just get back to work, for which we need to start shooting, for which we need to start showing the films. So I think we're right now in a bit of a limbo, but I feel we can see the end right now. Okay. Right, Shibasish, what do you feel?
Yeah, so I think, agree, Dinu. I think the first thing first is that none of us have any reference point or have any expectations that what you need to do if this kind of situation happens, because we have not experienced a similar kind of situation. The only reference point which is working in our mind for at least understanding the situation, that we are looking or trying to understand from the other countries where the incidences happened before us, or what is the trend they are following at the end of the day. Look at the overall scheme of things. There are three parts. One is, of course, when do you think that the health crisis or that part is going to get over? Is there expected timeline when there is a vaccine or a medical cure, some kind of a stuff comes into the light? We strongly believe that if there is a light on that end, whether that takes a 6 months time, 9 months time, or 12 months time, probably a lot of this uncertainty will go. But till that happens, in the interim period, between the producers, between the exhibitors, this is one sector which is very badly hit among many other sectors. Because as a film industry, we do two things. We shoot films and we release film. We can't do either of the situation in the current scheme of things. All the shootings have been stopped. All theatrical releases have been stopped. So if a film is incomplete, even 2 days of shooting, that's an incomplete film. They can't do anything about it, even after entire investment and etc. The positive side of the situation is that if we look at the countries where the incidences have started before us, look at the European countries, look at Southeast Asia like Korea, look at China, look at Spain, France, German, that part of the globe. Most of the countries have shown the health issue also reached a peak and then it flattened out. And the industries also have started opening up. They have started opening up the shooting. They have started opening up the theaters. So the positive side for us is that we will have some learning reference from the global industries to follow. It's not that we will enter into a zone without complete knowledge. We foresee, in my mind, that probably at a television and OTT level, the shooting probably in another month's time, the shooting definitely will start. Couple of state government has already allowed or started shooting, has allowed the shooting to start, like a Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, etc. But so another month's time, the shooting of TV, etc. will start. Film may take us some more time. Theater is the next big thing, which I am sure Kamal will speak. But yeah, to come to the point of the news that yes, the 6 months of this year is virtually gone in some manner. But we can now at least see that we can hope that where the end is looking like. That kind of estimation one can make.
So, right? Shibasish, I think it's safe to say it's in two parts, Priyanka. There's a part till we have a vaccine and we are in a green zone in terms of business.
Right.
And we have a interim period where we cannot lose more time. In that, we have to operate as best to an efficiency level that we can. So, the first phase of getting into that period can be seen. Yeah. The second one will only be there once there's a cure.
Right. So since we didn't formally start, so welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining in. Thank you to the panelists
for having us.
Really making time from your schedules. I know there have been like a lot of meetings going on to figure out the way forward and all of that. And we are all in the middle of this, the unique thing is that we are all in the middle of this crisis together to different degrees with probably a different set of problems. But the film industry, as we know, is one of the most imaginative industries, always coming up with unique solves and way forward. And it's the industry that we look forward to, look up to in a way, because it always provides us a respite and an escape from our realities, sometimes if they're difficult and they're harsh. This time, of course, it's a bit stuck because of the situation. But having said that, the film industry is also one which has been called one of the champion industries in the last few years. And it was supposed to hit like a 3.7 billion mark in 2020. Now, what is the situation now financially? And this is for all the panelists, Kamal, Shibashish, and Dinesh. In terms of what are the revenues looking like? Like you said, 6 months are gone, right? I mean, we'll go because by the time everything recovers and the wheels start moving again. But where is the film industry situated at this point from a pure revenue finance point of view? Shibashish, would you like to start with that? And then Kamal and Dinesh, you can follow on that.
Sure. So, as you said, Priyanka, that probably a pre-COVID situation, we are roughly sitting in a situation of like a $2.83 billion of the film industry. That's the number we love to speak about. There is one hidden dichotomy in this number. For the last 20 years, when I started my career, the industry growth percentage is very high, but the number never increases because the currency depreciates that much against dollar. So every year we talk of $1 billion, that number does not increase as much, right?
Right.
But leave that joke side apart. The industry definitely has shown a decent growth in last couple of years. Currently, the situation where is that there is a short-term situation and there is a mid to long-term situation. In the short-term situation, a set of producer who has completed a certain number of films. When I mean completed, they probably have completed the shooting and post-productions are left. And they are all waiting for the cinema to open up, theaters to open up. That number of films is not more than 20-25 kind of number of films which are in a readiness of release. Whether that release happens in a theater or some of those releases happening in OTT, that's a different discussion. A set of films, a larger number of films where the shooting is left. Now, that 25-30 films where shooting is left, we don't have a visibility whether those shootings is going to start in July, August, or September, October, and etc. So from a financial impact point of view, first thing first, the guys who have completed the shooting, they don't have a visibility of monetizing from the theatrical currently. If the people who have, if there are companies who have gone ahead and released digital, there is a certain ecosystem or financial ecosystem they have got and released the film. Other than that, there is a complete zero revenue situation for the films which are completed but not yet released. The films where shooting is left and they have to still put in the balance money and time, we don't foresee a film shooting to start not before probably September, October, because while the television shoot with 15-member crew, 20-member crew can start even in a July, August, to have the confidence and getting a 50 to 100-member crew at a minimum size, I don't even think that many films can happen like that. But even if we all learn and try to adopt ourselves, that reality is at least another 3-4 months down the line. So the last quarter of the year. So if the films are not complete, there is no revenue on that side also.
Right.
What is happening on the, if we look, so that is on the supply side. So on the supply side, you have only a limited content between now to next June. Forget between now to next 6 months. Between now to next June, we don't foresee there are a lot of contents are there. The new films, completely new film which will get greenlit, that films, the most likely, and probably not I'm saying on behalf of everyone, the most likely feeling in the industry that they will probably like to wait at least a 9 months, 10 months, 12 months situation, because no one has a visibility right now that how much is the impact going to be on a theatrical business, overseas theatrical business, or a satellite business. Mind it that even on the revenue side, satellite revenue is also going to get impacted because advertisement revenue, advertising income for broadcaster. Yesterday I was in a session with the IND ministries. In almost 85% of the advertising revenue has been gone in the first 2 months of this year. So for a film industry per se, the three main streams of revenue, domestic theatrical, overseas theatrical, and satellite revenue, are a bit of question mark. How much is a bit of question mark? We have to see. The digital revenues definitely are going stronger and stronger. But if I look at the complete financial year per se, I think looking at even the film started releasing in the last half of the year on a positive note and etc., we lose at least 6 months value chain of this entire year. So if in summer, if you're saying that we are a $2.5 billion industry the last year, you can say that will be definitely gone, right? In terms of sheer financial number,
Right.
which means impact on the jobs, which means impact on the on unorganized sector of employees, which means impact on every bit of the ecosystem. Because if the films are made, then music are made, music industry survive. If films are made, content is made, digital industry survive. So it's an ecosystem. Without content, we cannot continue, right? Of course, all the platforms are somewhere, all the value chains are tied up with each other. So that's a broad. Even if you take a very broad number that the 6 months revenue is gone, then also is at least a $1.5 billion of money is gone from this planning point of view. That's the best case situation.
It's very interesting you made the point about the fact that if there isn't enough content, obviously there's going to be a massive loss. Now, Kamal, from your point of view in the exhibition sector, because content creators like Shibasish and Dinesh, they still have an option to look at different platforms till the time that the situation is resolved, people can be allowed, the lockdowns over, sort of thing. What do exhibitors do in this time, and what are your options looking ahead in short-term scenario?
So exhibitors are right now focused on having cinemas up and running. That's the number one priority. And of course, because there is so much of psychological impact of the virus and there is so much of fear psychosis because of what's going on in media, we have to ensure that we get our act together. And so that as soon as we are allowed to open, the first lot of people who come to cinemas, they should walk away with the impression that cinemas have got their act together, customers are feeling protected, and feeling protected in a manner which is not interfering with their movie-going experience. Because in spite of all the innovation that film business does, this is one experience we don't want to change too much. I mean, this is an experience which has been doing wonderfully well for the customers and for the business stakeholders alike. Last financial year was a record year, and the year before that was a year which we've not seen in the past 1 decade. So in spite of all the multiple platforms we have, streaming, television, various other ways, and of course, we always constantly dealing with piracy. In spite of all of these alternate ways in which you can watch films, cinemas have had brilliant last 2 years. It is unfortunate, beginning of this year, we've run into a virus situation. The first 6 months, seem to be totally gone. We are already in May, even if we are permitted to open in end June, mid-July. I mean, people have different sentiment on when we would be permitted to open. And of course, it's going to be a statewide staggered issue opening. So the films, as you know, are a national product, and unless, at least Hindi films are, and unless you have majority of states operational, majority of cinemas operational, producers would find it difficult to release their films nationally, and we understand that. So in that context, I think the first 6 months of this financial year are totally gone. The balance 6 years also is fair to say that we will not move from complete social distancing, which is where we are now, to zero social distancing, which is where we were pre-COVID, immediately. It'll be a gradual transition. And what will make it expedite this transition is, if we are able to have a safety protocols in place, get an act together, make people feel protected. That's the number one consideration. And number two is, of course, as producers start feeling confident and comfortable releasing their films, that's what will get people to cinemas. Ultimately, cinema is a medium to watch brand new films. And the sooner we have films, wide releases, big films, mid-sized films, releasing in theaters in all languages, whether it's Hindi, English, Tamil, Telugu, and these films, some of them will do disproportionately well, and hopefully that will create a very positive word of mouth, attract more people. So the experience is here to stay. I don't think anyone has ambiguity on the fact that the experience will go away. I mean, if it had to go away, like DVDs have gone away, like music cassettes have gone away, it wouldn't have waited till COVID, right? Customers would have made that selection much earlier. So experience is here to stay. We just have to figure out this period of transition. And the faster we do this transition, the better we are at this transition, the earlier we'll get back to a normal case scenario.
Yeah. In fact, there's been an Ormax study for cinema going audiences, which I'll come to later. But Dinesh, what I wanted to ask you was that you had a film called Angrezi Medium, which released just at the outset of this lockdown. And it very soon, obviously it suffered because of the lockdown, and it very soon went into the OTT platforms. So what, as a producer, as a boutique producer who's doing some excellent work, excellent movies, what are your options in the immediate future? How are you sort of planning to navigate this? Because, theaters, I think everybody would love a theatrical release, but till the lockdown is over, we know for sure that that's not possible. Post-lockdown also, I think it'll take a while, like Kamal was saying, to put the systems in place, encourage people to come back, not because they don't want to, but I think just the fear of the virus being there is probably going to be like a roadblock for a while at least. So what is your situation? What is your thinking at this point?
Before Dino answers, let me interject. It won't take a while.
Okay. Good. No, I mean,
we'll
that's
make
good.
sure it happens quicker. I just wanted to put in this point. Dino, over to you.
Yeah,
sure.
So
I feel there are two very strong theories in the business right now.
Right.
One theory is that everyone is trying to protect their balance sheet.
Sure.
Okay, so they're trying to because, like Shibasish mentioned, there's a certain amount of capital that's being invested. We're not going to get a write-off of interest or whoever has any borrowings and holding capacity, which we need to shoot for the films, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a view that you must, if you're discounting entire 2020, which is, I feel most people are discounting it right now, then you need to at least generate enough cash flow, because I feel full-fledged shooting will start and theaters will start to normalize. So any which ways, with the kind of product we make, it's quite easy for us to bring a product out in 8-9 months, from the time we start shooting. So, you get newer product. Also, there's a pre-COVID audience and a post-COVID audience. Mm-hmm. I feel people are going to be affected. We again don't know how. I'm talking about just taste. I feel happier films are going to do better because I think
because of the mood being very sort of depressed and somber.
So I think it's everyone is trying to figure. So there's that one opinion that you must protect your balance sheet and go forward. There's another larger view, which is I believe that once people come out and once there's a vaccine, there's not that much product out there, and theatrical is going to perform exceptionally. In my case, the company has been built on theatrical. We get good satellite and digital pricing, but we've had small breakout films, whether it's a Bala, whether it's the first Hindi medium, whether it is a Stree, whether it's a Luka Chupi, where a chunk of our revenue has come from theatrical. So, and I'm somebody who believes that, like, for example, a Stree, if you watch with an audience, you're going to enjoy it much more than when you sit and watch it alone at home.
Yeah.
So though there's a value, there's also another fact that we have three sources, right? He said we have got satellite, which is hit as badly. So that's going to be renegotiated. We have theatrical that's being hit. Now we have OTT booming, right? But if OTT is the only avenue left, like satellite had, there will be a price correction. And I don't think the kind of films we make and the kind of, way just by habit, for me, my films work better in theaters.
Right.
So there's that view, wait, and you're going to do really well. But the fact of the matter is, there's another view where you have your balance sheet to protect. My view is very simple. There's an outset to which you'll wait. I have 3 films which have finished shooting, fortunately. There's the next horror comedy, which was called Ruh Afza, then it got called Rui Afza because of, and now it's going to be hopefully called either Rui Afza or Rui. There's a film called Mimi, so they're all small to medium, right? And there's a love story called Shiddat. They've all finished shooting. I've seen the edits. So I actually have 3 products which I can bring into theaters within 2.5 months of being allowed to just be in my office.
Right.
So I will wait till that point where but I also know that a big tentpole film like Shibashish films needs to come to bring people back in the medium period.
Yeah.
I don't think we can wait on films till the vaccine comes, because that will seriously erode your balance sheet. So there are two very distinct views. One is, save your balance sheet, become cash rich, be ready for when shoot starts, and then in the long term, theaters will be back with a bang.
Yeah.
The other view is there's not going to be enough content. There are only those many films out there, because I think right now there are a couple of films that have gone on OTT. Shibashish was saying 25. I think there'll be only 10, 12 films in the market right now, which because the bigger ones also will find it difficult to go, purely because of the cost of production. Correct. So these are the two views. I'm right now on the fence, where I have this. Luckily, we are fortunate enough for the amount invested that we have the ability to wait. We also have Jio as a partner. We also have Star as a partner. So we're good in that sense. How long is the wait will define how long we wait. 3 to 6 months, no problem.
Right.
As long as I can release something this year, I'll be okay. So that's where I am.
Okay. So that's pretty good, given the kind of situation. I think you're in a pretty good spot in that sense. The news is that, shoots are going to start soon. Guidelines have been issued to producers, and around August end is tentatively where people are looking to resume shoots and things like that. Now, that being the case, obviously there's a lot of safety protocol where you have to do a lot of testing of crew and cast and everything. And, does that, obviously that's going to take longer also the way you shoot. Does that add to the cost? And how extensive is this additional cost? Is it something that can be easily absorbed in the budgets?
I think the biggest hurdle, Priyanka, is going to be insurance.
Right, I was going to come to that.
That's the biggest hurdle. The rest is, with the way we are playing, we can afford to spend that. I'm like, Kamal yesterday took us through the safety precautions being taken, which will be an additional cost to them.
Right.
That cost we can take. I think, as in I can only speak for myself, is not a problem. But if we are not insured and we're dealing with a disease that doesn't have a cure, and like today there was an article about Indigo. There were, the whole crew was quarantined because there was one person on flight.
Yeah.
So what if one crew member goes, and I think once the government regulation comes in of how to shoot, first the films that are incomplete, who have 4 or 5 days left, who will finish, those will be easier to finish. Yeah.
Right.
A fresh shoot. So I have decided the moment there is even an announcement of a cure, we were supposed to start a film, which we held on to. Luckily, didn't go on floor with Raj, Kriti, Paresh Rawal and Dimple ma'am.
Right.
So we're ready. We've spent this time in development. We're going to be putting 3 films on the floor the day we can shoot safely. Right. We're happy with the scripts. But like I said, you need to relook at your material because I think that's important. I also believe the new normal post-COVID will be very different because this is the first biological kind of disease which has really shaken us. So I think a lot of shooting style will change. I think shooting floors will be required more. I think a lot of VFX will come in. I think like there's a beautiful article that's out which talks about the new normal in the West.
Right.
So a lot of technology which was expensive, because more people will use it, will become economical. You won't travel much. There won't be those many international locations.
I was going to ask you that. The shootings outside, that's going to be curbed, right?
But I don't think that will restrict creativity because I feel that technology will come in to take care of that. It's like 15 years it took to go from film to digital. Yeah. I think in a year, we will be using technology here which we didn't dream of. That's what COVID will do to you. You might just shoot the foreground and everything at the back will be created because even studios have idle capacity. So I think there's going to be a new way of doing things. So we also need to alter our scripts for that, But in the immediate requirement, my take is that people are going to want to watch happy films. There's anything dark and depressing, I think we've had enough. And so, the ones that I'm putting on floor, all are in that zone.
All are in a happy space. Now, Shibashish, I wanted to ask you this, that obviously in this altered scenario, what are the kind of, movies that you see yourself greenlighting? Because like Dino was just saying that, the people are going to want to watch happier films, perhaps. Then there is also the suggestion that the smaller budget films can more easily go on OTTs as opposed to, the 2 big budget, massive films that you have like 83 and Suryavanshi, which deserve a theatrical release. And that's where, you can really optimize your revenues if they have a theatrical release, which you perhaps can't do on an OTT. So is the decision making of studios going to be governed by these facts? What are you thinking at this point on these fronts?
So first thing first to correct, I think it may not be a great news for Kamal, but all big budget films are also up for discussion in the market, right?
Oh,
Every single
wow.
big budget film is up for
That's
discussion.
something. That's big news. I
now,
thought they would just hold on for a while.
Whether they hold on, they don't do, they do. That's a different discussion,
Sure.
completely dependent upon the producer.
Sure.
And even if a producer do the transaction or not do the transaction, either way, I mean, I just believe the same thing what Dinu is saying, that every organization is living on a certain level of oxygen.
Right.
So he has to optimize within his level of oxygen. Every filmmaker, every director, when they make a film, whether he's making the smallest budget film or the biggest budget film, his aspiration is to see the film on a big screen. That's we have seen in the creative world. But none of us also have seen this unprecedented time. So sometimes some filmmakers are getting themselves ready to the situations, and some films are going and some films are not going. But number is not the barrier. That's a given situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if the numbers are very high, then it takes more time to negotiate. If the numbers are medium budget or that's a lesser time for negotiation. That's one part. For companies like us, so see, of course, so we have a bucket of 4 films. I think we are sitting with Suryavamshi and 83, and we have two relatively smaller films. Smaller films meaning small scale film. I'm not saying small derogatory manner. Ribhu's film, Girl on the Train, and Anurag's film, Gangur Connection. So currently we are in the same situation what Dinu is saying, that I aspire to hold as much as long I can. I want to hold. But for different films, I will also have my own elbow room. At some stage, I will have to take some calls for some films and try to hold the other films. Or whoever has that level of oxygen, he will play up to that situation, right?
Right.
Second element also one has to think is that, and I'm an optimistic guy, and I think that probably from the last quarter of the year, definitely I expect that the theatrical footfall will start happening. I mean, that's what I'm expecting, that even if by July, August theaters open, another 6 to 8 weeks from then, you have to wait for one big film to see whether the audience is coming back or not. We'll see globally, we'll see what is happening on Tenet. If Tenet releases, if New York opens up, then Tenet will release. So that's a lot of depends upon that film per se.
Right.
For organizations like us, yes, the films what have been slated for new green light during the year. I also agree with Dinu that the thought process at a story level, definitely we are clear that we want to make more happy films at the end of the day. Sure. But what is happening is that there are two kind of contents are getting created. There are contents what probably are getting created straight for digital films also. So I'm sure many production houses are engaged with a platform and they're making films which are straight to digital. Okay. They can probably dabble with different content genre there.
Right.
For theatrical, as Dinu said, that there are 3 question marks in terms of revenues, in terms of pay TV, in terms of overseas revenue, in terms of domestic theatrical.
Right.
Unless a certain kind of clarity comes, unless you see at least 6-8 films releases in the current year or a big film releases in the current year and audiences are coming back, I don't think it is not an adequacy of capital.
Right.
First of all, there is no liquidity in the market. That's point number one. The market is completely without any liquidity. Even if there's a liquidity at a company level and organization, he doesn't know that what is the situation will be of my expected revenue. So that designing of that, everything has to be redesigned in terms of manner, that how to shoot, what should be the storyline, what kind of casting, etc. One point I slightly, our different point of view, I think probably overseas shooting will open up maybe earlier than India. A lot of countries overseas shooting has already started, especially UK and etc. shooting have already started. So yeah, if there is a story which is based in UK, people may take a small crew. Because a European shooting for a longish period of time, they're used to shoot with a small crew size. Unlike India, when India is such a high population country, we have 400 member team, 300 member team like that, right?
Right.
But most of the European film designing, if you have seen, they're used to shooting at a much. Some of the disciplines are already there in those countries.
Yeah.
But this uncertainty will be there in 3-6 months. But I am hoping that by last quarter of the year, of this calendar year, that October onwards, things will start it. Panning out for better situation.
Right. Kamal, coming to you, obviously there are the movies and there are the theaters waiting to open. People are dying to go and watch movies in theaters, as the Ormax study has shown. The thing is, what are the precautions? There are two parts to it. One is like innovative thinking. How are you going to make this experience richer and sort of incentivize people to come? The other is that how are you going to keep people safe? Because I know there are these solutions of keeping the seats around in the back, front, left, right empty, which is going to hugely reduce the capacity that you're going to be able to get in, right? So, as representing a major, as a CEO of PVR, which is such a major chain, what are the steps that you have in place? What are the plans to get the people in?
PVR and almost all multiplexes have been extremely high in terms of hygiene standards, but we will have to up our game even more. There's a lot of focus on deep cleaning, hygiene aspects, whether it's front of the house,
right,
which is what is seen by the patrons, or the back of the house, which is usually used by the employees, our team members. Clearly, there would be a lot of digitization of processes, whether they are customer-facing processes or internal processes, to ensure that we reduce human contact as much as possible.
right.
Social distancing in terms of seats that you spoke about is something which we've recommended to the government at this point. Government is yet to confirm. We believe there would be some short-term, when I say short-term, I mean 2 to 3 months, sort of stringent guidelines from the government. But as we move forward, they'll progressively, in a calibrated fashion, relax those guidelines. Our suggestion to the government is that one seat would be left empty after every customer group, which means there could be a capacity reduction of about 20-25%. But we'll see what government has to guide us on this aspect. That said, from business perspective, because our business is a very weekend skew business. We do very high occupancies on weekends, which is Saturday, Sunday. We do reasonably high occupancies on Fridays.
Right.
And Monday till Thursday tends to be lower occupancies. So we have a lot of headroom on weekdays to accommodate. Even if there is capacity reduction, we can easily spread movies over more number of shows. This whole concept of movies having a very quick turnaround, very big, massive weekend, and then quickly tapering off is, maybe about 8 or 9 year old phenomena.
Right.
In earlier times, films used to play very strongly over first 3-4 weeks without a problem. Of course, we also had lesser number of screens then. So the larger point I'm trying to make is that either people would find that we have more shows allocated to a film, or films are playing longer, or some of the customers would change their habit, and instead of coming on a weekend, they would self-select and come on a weekday, and that would also help us deal with this short-term issue of capacity reduction because of social distancing.
Yeah. Actually, that's very interesting what you said in terms of giving a longer window to movies, because I think that's something that people have been complaining about, whether it's producers, actors, and of course the audience, because it's blink and you miss it. If it's not, don't catch it on the weekend, the next week it may or may not be there because there've been so many films. So I think maybe that should be a welcome sort of move from the audience point of view. If
we make too many films, which is a blessing, but in some sense is also a problem, because we, as a chain, we've released 1,000 films in the last financial year. 1,000 spread across all languages, about 12-13 languages spread across all these 875 screens that we have.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that bulk of our business, almost 85% of our total admissions, came from the top 100 films. So the larger point I'm trying to make is that, yes, there is, even if there is a reduction in number of films over the next 6 to 12 months after we are permitted to open, it won't have it will definitely have an impact. We'll be disappointed if a film goes directly to streaming, but look, it won't be happening for the first time.
Right.
And it's business, right? We understand, we appreciate producers have to take their independent calls on case-to-case basis. We totally appreciate that. But the point is, from cinema exhibition point of view, because there is a big skew towards these top successful films, whether they are star cast led films or mid-size breakaway films that Dino spoke about, because the balance is so skewed in their favor, even if there's a reduction in number of films which eventually come out to cinemas, it should be all right. But we believe, if things were to be believed in terms of what's happening in the stock market, the vaccination or the medicine is coming. It's a matter of 8 or 9 months, and maybe after that, life will go back to normal. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think research is on, testing is going to start soon, and all that is in the pipeline, of course. But you've sort of outlined some of the things that you're going to do, like moving forward, that theaters are going to do to safeguard people and the health concerns they may have. I'd like to ask Dinesh, for you as well, while shooting, and Shibashish, what are the sort of safety measures in place once you begin? Because you must have started planning now if you are to shoot. What are the things that you will be, sort of the precautions you'll be taking, the safeguards which will be in place for people concerned? Because filmmaking is also such a collaborative venture. It's not like you can sit in isolation and do something. So anything, any specifics that you can share with us on that?
I think we've, as a producers guild, made a document and submitted that to the Chief Minister about how we would like to go forward. In fact, on our call with the multiplexes yesterday, we said that we should kind of approach it together to the center too. So I think the guidelines are all the guidelines that all businesses will start following.
Right.
Whether it's, the masks, whether it is, I think what's interesting is the film that started shooting, I think in Europe, where they kind of divided it into 3 bands. That was interesting. I don't think wherein there is, one is only near the camera, one is offset, and one is an all access pass. And very few people have that. So except the actors, everybody has masks. You kind of limit the crew. So every precaution that can be taken, Akshay shot for a few hours.
Social message film.
And, so I think we will find there will be a new normal. It's like when you also go out to buy groceries, which you have to go, there is a new normal of how you do it, right? So I think the most important thing is discipline.
Sure.
And I think that'll have a certain amount of trial and error, and you'll have to have zones. And we've submitted a document, which I'll share with you, which covers all the aspect. Madhu made it, Nikhil's partner, and she's done such a fantastic job putting that all together. So let's hope now how much of that is implemented, how strict the government is, and what they come back with, is something that will define what you asked in the beginning of our, what is the operating cost that will increase.
Right.
But it's a temporary phenomenon, like you said, till there's a vaccine. So we got to ride out these 9 months. But a bigger problem than that for us to shoot is the insurance. If for a new film we don't get insured, I don't think, Shibashish, tell me, I don't think we'll shoot till we get that, right?
Is that true, Shibashish? So they can't shoot till the time that you have insurance for a particular film, which you may not get under the present situation?
Honestly, even for the existing film, while everyone has a production insurance and coverage, but whether that corona is covering that, is getting covered in that or not, is a nudge going on, and none of the insurance company has taken a position of accepting it till now. This is one point which yesterday we took up with also Ministry of Joint Secretary of INB, that the insurance companies is to be nudged to say that if there is a coverage, it should be a part of the force majeure, and then this law should become. It is pretty clear for the new film. They are very clear that corona is already an identified problem, right? So if there's an identified problem, by theory, you cannot cover it by an insurance. Right. So most of the time when the shootings what are going, it is some kind of a self-declaration. At least what has started happening in the television side, that actors and the technicians are giving us some kind of a self-declaration, giving a coverage to the producer or to the broadcasting platform, saying that if something happens, I'm not going to come and claim.
Okay.
It's an uncertain world. It's an uncertain world. influencer is not covering it. So in that situation where the producers are, so producer will wait. At the end of the day, too much uncertainty is there. They will wait to commence a new film. People will complete all their unfinished film with all the parameters. What Dinu said, that all the way from using your PPE kit, or from using your sanitizers, or using your gloves, or virtually the community lunch has gone. Everybody is gone for like a packed lunch and provide. Virtually every actor with some 5 hangarounds are gone, because you have only a limited number of people who can come in there. So a lot of do's and don'ts will be there, and people are gearing up to that situation. The shoots, at least in television or OTT space, which are now going on the floor already, there is a concept they're keeping some kind of an health officer. They're expecting a doctor, but some kind of a health officer, maybe a nurse or a quasi-paramedical or a quasi-medical officer, who will check all incoming crew on that day, the normal thermal scanning, then people come inside and then do the shooting. There is one theory going on that what happens when the people comes and shoot. At the end of the day, he or she again goes back to his or her home. How can you check that the next day there is not a problem with them?
Sure.
Another school of theory, I mean, there's also, people are talking that, suppose, I mean, there's a discussion going on that, okay, if a film has to be shot, let's go to Ramoji's studio, take the entire team, quarantine for 14 days. Take the entire team from Bombay or wherever, spend that 14 days as a cost, quarantine them for 14 days, and on the 15 days, start the shoot end to end complete, and then come back. So different producers are thinking of different school of thought, but we'll all try to adapt to the situation and start shooting.
Right. Is there any specific budget that you have in mind while you are like now sort of greenlighting films, like moderate to big budget, anything? Or you're going to wait and watch?
So, definitely I think there are two things. Like when producer puts the budget, he first calculate a revenue and then puts the budget. Right. So that is one area. The other area is that he starts thinking that what are the kind of stories it is interestingly told for a theatrical experience, vis-a-vis what are the kind of stories which can go for a small for a platform release.
Right.
So maybe a lot of films will start getting designed if there is an appetite for a platform or a certain budget and scale films.
Right.
People will start designing for their platform, or they will wait. I don't think that people will take an immediate judgmental call now. There will be a correction in the budget. The correction has started happening. Some signals of corrections have started happening, definitely. And there will be a correction, because we have to be realistic to the realistic revenue, and life has to move on with that.
Absolutely.
I don't think that we are all, I don't think we have put a number and start thinking like that.
Sure.
But definitely a certain size and level of films, which earlier a producer would have tried to make and think for a chance that let me take a chance that how does it work theatrically. The chance system probably will be less. Probably here you will not want to take a chance. You'll want to hold, either for us to tell the story straight to digital or hold.
Right. Dinesh, I wanted to ask you this. I read in a few reports in Variety and Hollywood Reporter that Hollywood films which have kind of resumed shooting in with smaller crews and all of that, they're keeping it really tight. Obviously, everybody's wearing masks except the actors. The crews are much smaller. A lot of hair and makeup stuff, like they are telling the actors to manage with the bare minimum, do a bit of it themselves. I know you have great relationships with stars and all of that. Great resources. So are you going to sort of, do you see that happening in Bollywood? Is the talent have to, now a lot of DIY, is that going to happen? Are we seeing it already happen? And is that good for producers and studios at large?
I think in the interim phase, before we hit the new normal, when there's a vaccine, in that phase, I think everybody is going to come together.
Sure.
I don't think anyone's going to be unreasonable, be it a technician, be it an actor, because if he's unreasonable, he's going to destroy the business. And I think I've been working with a lot of younger actors who any which ways are very, very forthcoming and are willing to do, the enthusiasm is there. And I think the more senior ones are experienced enough to have seen enough ups and downs. So I don't see any hesitation in coming together to limit crew sizes. Everybody wants to shoot. Everybody's itching to go on floor.
Sure.
Whoever I speak to, has the same enthusiasm. So
Right.
I think I'm not faced. I don't see any unreasonable behavior, if that's what you're asking me. I think they'll all come together to make it.
Right.
The second part of what you were asking in terms of budget cuts, I had an interesting call with Sriram and the writers, and the biggest film we're making is a film with Sriram, which on
With
the
Varun in it,
yes,
starring
Varun
Varun. Yeah.
Khetrapal biopic, which is called Lick Kiss.
Okay.
So my conversation with Sriram was because he was just finishing his draft. I said, you cannot cut anything.
Right.
Because I believe that people sitting at home have got exposed to so much content
Right.
that if you give them, so whatever you write needs to be shot convincingly. So if there's a correction that has to happen, it has to be a smart correction on script.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe when, there was a huge depression in America, the films that brought people back were Avatar and Spider-Man, if I'm not mistaken. So I hope Shibasish leads from the front, brings them all back, and then my three can happily go into that scenario. I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
But anything new that I'm thinking that because of what they've consumed sitting at home, you cannot now be shabby. You cannot not have the right production value.
Right.
So I think quality is going to proceed. You cannot compromise quality. You need to.
Sure.
So I think there'll be a lot of new formulas which were anyways happening. There'll be more equity participation. But we cannot compromise as an industry the product anymore.
Right.
And that's a great sign for me.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. Kamal, one of the interesting conversations that we are hearing around theaters is that drive-ins are going to come back. Do you see that happening? I mean, in cities where real estate is such a, it's shrinking so much. Do you think drive-in theaters are going to be back? Is that
it's
a trend?
an interesting idea. In a lot of countries, there has been a lot of resurgence in drive-in theater business. While all the cinemas were shut down, the traditional multiplexes, confined spaces were shut down. Drive-ins in US, Australia, Germany continue to operate, and they've done brisk business. So it's an interesting idea. India has challenges, weather challenges, and of course, finding these parking lots which will make for a good drive-in theater. There are those challenges, but in many centers, in many cities, you would find opportunities. And I'm pretty sure as we speak, there are a lot of entrepreneurs exploring and working on this idea, this thought. So I think it's an interesting proposition.
Right. No, that's great. In fact, I think it's quite a charming idea in so many cities, especially when the weather is far more pleasant and probably takes care of some of the social distancing issues that people may face. But very quickly, I'm going to take a few very interesting questions that we are getting from our audience. One of them is somebody anonymous who's posted a question, and this any of you can answer, but Shibasish, since you wear the business hat as well. The question is that why is it that people are looking more at digital platforms and OTT platforms as opposed to television? Like, what is the equation there? How do you choose which is a better platform for the release of your film?
So it's just a reality of life. The reality of life is that for a television platform, the earning of the television platform is coming from ad revenues.
Right.
It is not coming from the subscriber revenue that much.
Right.
Now, the ad revenues have taken a
solid hit
of the decade, right?
Yeah.
So if they have taken that kind of hit, they probably come and renegotiate whatever contract they have done for normal satellite.
Right. So everything is under renegotiation now.
So they are not the takers into this situation.
Yeah.
The digital platform are basically upon if you look at mainly the large three players,
right?
Out of which Netflix is clearly focused on a market cap, and the market cap is dependent upon the subscriber base.
Right.
Now, most of the large players like an Amazon or Netflix, from a global subscriber base opportunity point of view, they can't enter China. So after North America, the only market they have to be aggressive is India from a population perspective or subscriber. So it is but natural that they will try to play an aggressive play in India to get a more and more subscriber.
Right.
And that's why either a Disney Plus, Amazon, or Netflix, between the three, OTT will play a certain amount of, at least, even if it is a temporary phase, they will play some amount of aggression in terms of picking up content, which is not there in the pay TV. That opportunity is not there in pay TV.
Right. In fact, it's interesting you mentioned Netflix because it's the only company apparently which has, the stocks have risen like even in these times. Everybody else has taken a hit. All the other major entertainment behemoths have taken a hit. Netflix is
Right.
the only exception. So, I
No,
mean,
honestly, it has gone through the roof. But the one interesting part is that Reed Hastings, even in his earning call,
right.
he made a statement that while we are all excited to see this growth, but keep in mind that this growth is also because of the lockdown. This is not going to be normal. I mean, so he has been he balanced for his investment.
They've been extremely pragmatic, and of course,
Right.
I'm a theatrical guy. I work for a theatrical organization, but I'm a big Netflix, Amazon, Disney, Hotstar fan. I think we have to appreciate that streaming platforms are in an investment mode at this point.
Right.
For the last 3 or 4 years since Netflix, Amazon have become active in this market,
Right.
they are onto a drive to acquire a lot of subscribers. So India in that context is a market which will get them numbers, and which also partially explains why Netflix chose to go the 200 subscription route for mobile phones, handheld devices. And we've seen these phases in past. There was a time when the broadcasters were in an acquisition mode and the television rights of films had gone through the roof.
Right.
I mean, the numbers which were being quoted and, the kind of advertising revenue that television stations were able to garner for the prices that they were paying, there was absolutely no connect. But, there are these phases in which sectors get into. And I think streaming platforms are seeing this as a phase, an opportunity to penetrate India, which has got a large digitized, and a good thing is that the digital infrastructure is holding in India.
Yeah.
I mean, with the lockdown, we have these off and on problems while talking to each other digitally, but by and large, the infrastructure is holding. And I think in that context, it's a good opportunity for streaming platforms.
That's true. Dinesh, there's a question for you from the audience, which is, Poonam Shivdasani. She wants to know that what is going to happen to small budget slice of life films. And also given that, there's less opportunity for promotion and the duration of films is, shorter on OTT platforms, are we going to sacrifice the song and dance routines that are so common to Hindi films?
So I feel slice of life, or Shibasish said, small is not the right word for it, but let's say the cost of production is not the issue of those films. Whether it goes 2 crores here or 2 crores there, the issue there is going to be the marketing cost, which has been exploding.
Right.
There's some sort of control in the South, but I think that multiplexes and us need to sit down and come up with a formula where we can promote the film.
Yeah.
And there needs to be some unity in producers that we don't go ballistic, because if a 15 crore film, you end up spending 15 crores on marketing it. And I believe small films need more marketing than big films, because the bigger ones can just come and drop a trailer and people are going to see it because it's tentpole. So I think there will be an alliance, at least I hope, between Multiplex and us, right, Kamal? And we'll come up with a way to put them out. There's also an opportunity for them because we don't have those many films. So they'll get a longer run in the short term. But if we do not, the correction has to be in the promotion. We cannot compromise quality. I don't see you can, because they're anyways tight. So you cannot make them. So I'm not going to cut budgets, but I'm going to try and come up with innovative ways to put that out.
Right.
I think the song and dance is getting reduced, especially for the slice of life films. There's not that much in it, but there will be that film. That's more an organic transformation in the viewing experience that's happening. We cater, we cater to a certain demand, and if an audience is entertained by that kind of film, they will be made. But that's reducing right now because of a change in taste and nothing to do with budgets.
Yeah. The marketing of movies, Shibasish, because obviously on-ground marketing will be, it'll be downsized to a large extent because of travel issues and various things. So, how are you going to be promoting?
That's fantastic. Let's not send them anywhere. Shibasish and we recently have had a chat. We were like, we consider that a waste of money.
Right. So where are you going to allocate that money to?
No, so I think there is what is going to happen, and at least when I see my the films like a Surya Vanshi or 83 is going to release. And this is not a conversation it's not only my conversation, but it's a conversation with Rohit or Kabir, the directors of those films.
Right.
We all that first of all, you have to accept the situation that it's not going to be those multiple city tour. It's not going to be some 10,000 people standing and the star coming, waving his hand. It's not going to be some 200 journos coming and asking questions, because we will not even encourage we have to encourage as much social distancing possible in the whole communication tool. So the communication will to largely digital and largely PR. These are the two tools on which it will be driven. Right. And what I mean, whether it's the digital or whether the TV, but the question is that how strong is your creative unit? At the end of the day, if your creative unit is strong, the country has enough football on a digital platform or on a television platform to take the communication of your film. So a lot of those kind of elements will go away from the live things which used to be there earlier. Right. But yeah, I mean, that's the way we have to plan. I mean, it's not only a question of money, it's a question of what is possible and what is not required. That's the way people have to decide.
Sure. Now, there are two questions for Kamal. So we really know that people want to get back to theaters. They have lots of questions for you. One is that because of this present scenario, would you consider sort of releasing short films, which are pretty popular now, in theaters? And the other is if you could probably cut down the number of ads during the interval to make more people come in. Now, that's a catch-22 situation, because that's also revenue, and then, does that really incentivize audiences enough to come into theaters?
First question,
Mohit
short films.
And has asked one of those questions.
And we are always open to all sorts of. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. As exhibitors, we are all for all sorts of content, discerning audiences. These big, massive blockbusters, small films, mid-sized films, content-driven films, star-driven films, short films, alternate content in terms of, music concerts, sports. We are open to all sorts of content. Ultimately, we are driven by what customers are seeking from theaters as an experience. Content is absolutely no problem. We've played short films in the past and we've had some good successes. But the fact remains that our business, exhibition business, is steeped in traditions. Yeah. People think of exhibition for films. People think of big movies for theaters. I mean, there is, when you're in the middle of a crisis, I don't want to sound as if I'm in denial. It's a massive crisis that we are going through. But the fact remains that when you are in the middle of a crisis, there are these sentiments and attitudes which force you to sort of come out with thoughts that maybe this is a change in customer thought process. It will have a long-term implication on business, and it's possible. I mean, no one knows what's going to happen in future. In all humility, we are also taking it each day as it comes. But the fact is that people think of theaters for films. That's our staple diet. That's what people seek in terms of escapism. And which is the reason that when you look at what's happening in the Western countries, now Tenet, which is Christopher Nolan's big film, slated for 17 July, maybe it'll shift by a week or so, but they've already started publicity in the US market with their TV spot. So the film is coming. Mulan, which is another wide release targeting families, Disney product, coming on 24 July, maybe it'll shift by a week or so. Wonder Woman coming in August. Studios, and obviously there is a different scenario in West as compared to India. India, we tend to be more fragmented. We tend to be more entrepreneurial. Western setup is more corporatized. Businesses, filmmaking has been consolidated with these 5 or 6 studios, and they tend to have more appetite to take risks, which is the reason that Warner and Disney are releasing their big wide releases so close to the opening of cinemas. Right. And I think that's a big validation of the fact that when you have big films, people will come back to cinemas. Yeah. But we'll see what happens when these films release, the kind of business they do. In terms of ads that we play, see, the populist view is that we play too many ads.
Mm-hmm.
They're irritating. They spoil the fun. People don't enjoy watching. People want, given a choice, people want an ad-free experience. We get that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, India is an inflationary economy.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of real estate costs that we end up paying in India, the electricity power costs that we pay, number of people we end up employing. Also, cinema is a means for escapism, which means you need to invest a lot of money in your lobbies inside the auditorium so that the escapism is not just the film, it's the whole experience. From the time you walk into the auditorium or before that you walk into lobbies, everything takes a lot of money. We could, get a return on these investments by increasing ticket prices.
Right.
And then we will have another set of problem where customers would find it difficult to sort of absorb those costs. Or we could have, advertising as another revenue stream so that it can help us sort of balance the ticket costs. So we see it from that prism. It is always our endeavor to cut short our ads. Unfortunately, advertisers want to advertise when there are big films,
Right.
when there are successful films. And when you go to these blockbuster films, you end up seeing a lot of ads. But you go to most of the other films, like I mentioned earlier, that we release close to 1,000 films. You watch 900 of these 1,000 films, you won't have a problem with ads.
Sure.
But because bulk of people go for these top 100 films, that's where the issue is, because that's what advertisers are seeing. So no easy answers. Short answer is we would love to reduce ads. We continuously work on that, but it's also a way to keep our ticket prices in check.
Lovely. So we all want entertainment, continuing in our lives, because that, adds so much sparkle and fun to our lives. Very quickly now, since we don't have time to take more questions, we'll wrap. But very quickly, I want each of you to just respond and tell me, like, maybe 2 or 3 quick immediate steps that your sector can take in order to pave the way forward and make things easier.
Well, the steps we are taking are safety protocols.
Right.
Talking to our friends in the production community, distribution community, keeping them informed in terms of progress. We are having several dialogues with government authorities to give them confidence and comfort that we are ready. Cinemas have their act together so that they can permit us to open as quickly as possible. So several steps, but in sort of 2 or 3 buckets, this is what we are doing.
Right.
But I think the larger point I would like to leave before we leave this webinar is that cinema industry, and not just in India, but also globally in Western countries, has faced tremendous amount of challenges even in the past. I mean, there have been other epidemics, there have been world wars, there has been television in terms of innovation, DVDs, now streaming, terrorist attack, one after the other. But in each crisis, cinemas have managed to bounce back, and they have managed to bounce back even stronger.
Right.
And I think the reason for that could be, the way we see it, I think is definitely one of the main factors why cinemas keep bouncing back, is because cinemas have a critical role to play when situations are uncertain, when people are dealing with challenges, uncertainty, troubled times. People want escapism more,
Right.
not less.
Sure.
And these are such times, and normally cinema is seen to be a sin product. Socially, we don't think of cinema as an essential commodity, but in these times, it is an essential commodity.
Absolutely. So Shibasish, your immediate steps that you think would help
people
move
of course,
forward.
there is a one set of steps for immediate short term.
Right.
So the immediate short term steps are at a producer level, organization level, as where the new started discussion is by saying that everybody probably are making their own plans. What are the eggs they have in their basket and when they will hatch, and make the plans for that.
Right.
And at an industry sector level, I think we are all gearing up that how and when the shoot can start and what are the protocols we can take. How much actors will be comfortable to come to a shoot till a vaccination or something comes. So those questions has to be addressed, has to be spoken, and etc. Because even if we come out of this interim period, the ultimate objective is that the industry has to get into a momentum. So so content has to get created. So the large focus is on that creating stories for the content to get continuing. Yes, I also believe, like Kamal, that in summer we always say that this industry is recession proof. Every time there is a recession, this industry has gone up. The only reason for here, some question mark, this is not a financial issue, but it's more a health issue, and how does the audience cope up? But we are a strong believer that audience will come back if there is a confidence can given to the audience that the life will be fine, or the life will be a certain amount of health and safety protocol have been taken. We believe that definitely it will continue and life will come back to a normalcy.
Wonderful. Dinesh, your takeaways.
Kamal and Shibasish have covered most of it. I always believe every crisis has an opportunity. So I think as filmmakers, we need to up the game because there will be a lot of demand when the crisis goes away. That's the long-term agenda, to up our game and when we come back with a bang. In the short term, I think it's about survival. It's about surviving 2020. And also the survival cannot, like, we're all looking at our individual balance sheets, but we also need to look at the survival of the whole ecosystem, whether it's a multiplex, whether it is the workers, whether it's talent. So for that, we need to have combined conversations that we don't end up destroying any particular medium by doing anything silly. So I think whether it's all connected. If like you said, if our incremental cost to shoot is double, we won't be able to shoot. So the unions need to be, we need to look at the multiplexes in a way that, to survive, maybe we need to just give one film away, and not all of them trying to just maximize profit. So I think 2020 is about survival. And if you come out of it, and if you come out of it smarter, there'll be a tremendous opportunity in 2020. That's what I think.
Lovely. So 2020 is all about survival. And I'm absolutely certain, listening to you guys, that the film industry is going to bounce back stronger than ever, as it always does. And in the process, keep us entertained. So thank you so much for making time. Thank you, Sandeep, for having us on this webinar. And thank you, BCCI. This has been lovely. And I can't wait to, watch the next few releases that are coming out. All sound very promising, very exciting. And as Kamal said, and as Dino was saying, that this is a time when we definitely want to be entertained. So we want the cheerful stories, the happy stories, not so happy stories also. All kinds of stories. We want to watch them. So please keep them coming, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Sandeep.
Thanks, Vijay.
Stay safe.
Sandeep, you're on mute.
Yeah, so thank you, guys. I mean, I'm missing going to Phoenix every weekend. The last one, I thought I would catch English medium in Angrezi medium in the theater, but lockdown. So at home, we tried to make an atmosphere where all four of us sat together. We dimmed the light. We had our popcorns ready and watched the movie. The experience was still not the same. Looking forward to, the 83 and Suryavanshi. Hopefully, by the time they are released, we would be able to go. But, for India, there are two things. IPL is completely gone. So cricket, crazy India and film crazy India, both are at a standstill at the moment. Hopefully, they will open up and most of us can go back to a normal life. Looking forward to the movie business, and, that's something we all love. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Dinesh, for your time. I think Shibasish and Kamal have gone. Priyanka, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you for having us, Sandeep. Stay safe.
Thank you. Vijay, you want to add something, Vijay?
Yeah, I'm going to take a minute. With the permission of the panelists and the moderator, I wrote up a few lines listening to you folks of poetry. So I'll just read them out in terms of both. The lines read this way. The situation is hard for films in India during this tumultuous COVID time. Curator, studios and exhibitor media await the lift of COVID sanctions chime. This panel in its discussion did say that as we move ahead in the coming day, film environments will adapt to a newer way and film entertainment will continue to play. We thank the Bombay Chamber Director General for the session today and the moderator, content creator, theatre head and producer for their say, participants for their presence and interaction play, with a takeaway that films will stay by reimagining the future way. Thank you very much and good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.